Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast where we look at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chenard. I'm here with Glen Willis and Tyler Jones on a Thursday night after the Hawks defeated the Brooklyn Nets in the game that 10 days from now everyone will have forgotten, I think, if not sooner. Uh, the Hawks didn't look great. What'd you think of this game, Tyler?
You're on mute. He's on mute.
Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast where we look at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chenard. I'm here with Glen Willis and Tyler Jones, recording on a Thursday night after a forgettable night of basketball where the Hawks defeated the Brooklyn Nets. Glen, what did you think of this game?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit on the sloppy side. I mean, the Hawks are, you watch this game, the thing that jumps out at you is the Hawks are a different team without Dyson Daniels, right? Just defensively, they're different. I said on the last podcast, like Brooklyn, they're a young team, but they're well coached and they play hard. You can't take them for granted. But in the fourth quarter, they separated and got the win, and that's what's important. So I think they're tied for Philly with eighth now, and they got the tiebreaker on Philly. And so, it's just nice to see them continue winning games. But, you know, ideally, it's not that close as it was the whole game for, a lesser team. But like I said, they're coming out of a stretch where they've had good breaks in between games. That's kind of over for now, where they're sliding into a really condensed schedule. So, I mean, good that Dyson got a rest tonight. Good that they were able to get a win without Dyson tonight. Good that Kaminga was able to get back on the floor tonight. He wasn't very impactful, but it was, I think, a good chance for him to run up and down the floor and kind of get reintegrated in a game where I didn't need a ton from him to win the game, but hopefully that sets him up for, success the next time.
Tyler, what did you think of this game?
Well, they were a bit unlucky with their shots just not falling. I thought the offense was better than the results for the most part, where I just think they weren't making threes and the Nets were forcing them to take a lot of threes. Like I think the Nets made it a like plan that they weren't going to just let the Hawks beat them in the paint because they had the more talented, rim finishers at the rim, more talented big men. And so the Nets were like, no, we're going to force you guys to make open three pointers and um, cover the paint as best we can. Combined with, I thought the Nets defensively were super physical and without Dyson Daniels in particular, the Hawks were really lacking in ball handling. I think that really kind of backslid them a lot on offense. Uh, Particularly when it was a lot better when Gabe Vincent was in the game. Gabe gave him some big minutes. Just because he's a real point guard, he can really bring up the ball up the floor. But when Gabe wasn't in the game, the Hawks were really struggling to beat the pressure when that's usually not a problem for them most of the time when they have Dyson Daniels. So I thought it was a bad matchup for them offensively overall, like the Nets. While they didn't have a center outside of Claxton, they did have a lot of forward side players who, they can stay in front of, Kaminga and Jalen Johnson. And so I just think it wasn't a matchup where the Hawks could just spam the easy button for easy points on offense. They had to grind it a little bit harder, especially without Dyson in the game. So that's where it was. I thought defensively they were fine for the most part, except when Quinn went to bad defensive lineups. Uh, that's really my really only takeaway. But they really had to work to win this game. But at the end of the game, the talent kind of showed out at the end. So a win's a win.
In the second half, the Hawks went to Mo Gay. It seemed like he was sort of destined to go through this game without playing him. Like it didn't seem like they had any real plan to use him, but They kind of broke the glass and put him in there in the second half. What were they looking for when they put him in? What do you think, Glenn?
Defense.
I think just someone I just think someone who that's right. I just think someone who could cover more of the floor, had more defensive range. I thought, Brooklyn was playing on the smaller side tonight, and I think that matchup made it a little tougher for Landale, to kind of sink, on the defensive side of the floor a lot. And Mo was just more active and more impactful and got to more blocks and things like that. So I thought it was a good kind of change of pace for Quinn to go through there.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just the defensive part. I thought offensively, Landau was just too slow with what he was doing. Like I think he was too slow. He was getting ripped way too easily. When offense is his primary function, like he can't, with his defensive foibles, he cannot afford to have bad offensive games, particularly against the next team. Again, without really a backup center, he should have been way better. But the EJ Liddell, former Hawk, like he's a quality like athlete, and I think you see I think what you saw tonight was the real limitations of Landell and Kispert in particular athletically, because it felt like the Nets were very keyed in on those two in particular and constantly attacked them, and that's really when they were at their best scoring. Once Quinn was like, enough, I'm playing only good defenders. The game kind of ended, combined with I thought Kuminga in particular really struggled on both ends, um, offensively more than defensively, but even with defensively, like he was just off on what he needed to do communication wise compared to like Shea. So I'm just of the opinion like it was a bad night for Kuminga. Hopefully he can get better. I give him some grace because no Dyson Daniels. Again, Dyson's such a huge factor because I think he is the organizer for the offense in ways that Jalen isn't. So like I think he was really missed.
Yeah, since you brought it up, what first of all, I don't think Kuminga has, and this is just me speculating from what I see at the end of practices and shoot arounds and stuff, but I haven't seen Kuminga on the court in quite a while.
Yeah.
I don't think he's done a whole lot. The other day at the end of practice, he was in civvies when everybody else was in uniform. Um, but what is it going to take? How do they organize the units around Kuminga so that Kuminga can function well on offense? Like, because tonight I thought that was kind of stuck out.
I
I
mean,
like.
he
Oh, go
he
ahead.
just seemed he just seemed a little bit out of the flow, and I mean, the Hawks have been playing really well, moving the ball quickly. Not having Dyson, it slowed things down a little bit on offense. Dyson really breaks the paint more than anybody else, consistently. And I felt like he was just a little bit hesitant to kind of throw himself into what they were doing on offense. He hadn't played in a while, so I think that makes sense. And this was a good game to kind of just throw him out there and let him kind of get a feel again for kind of what they're doing on offense.
What do you
Yeah, I
think about
mean,
that? Oh, there you go.
I just think I'm with you, Kevin. It looked like that was his first time playing any basketball since the last time he played. Like I think the injury has basically knocked him out for like a week plus, and he looked really out of rhythm on like every aspect of the game on offense and defense. Combined with the Nets were like credit to Nets, they played a good game. Like particularly on defense, they were super organized. They for the most part they didn't give up anything easy to the Hawks on offense, and like so they were Hawks were more forced to play in the half court, and like that's a weakness of this team, especially without Dyson Daniels. Now you got Kuminga in there. The offense is kind of like, all right, we're doing the Kuminga show, but he's not really creating an advantage over the guys he's guarding because again, the Nets are only playing good athletes, good defenders. They didn't really, without Igor Demin and Traore like not playing. Like the Hawks didn't really have somebody they could attack outside of Ben Saraff, but even Ben Saraff is a big player, and also Danny Wolf is also big. Like it's just one of those things where it's like the matchup wasn't good for Kuminga, combined with no Dyson Daniels. He doesn't get any of the easy stuff. And you could see his bad habits coming into play. And I think his worst habit right now is he holds onto the ball a little bit too long, where he needs to get off the ball and move it a bit more and play more within the flow of the offense. Where tonight it just felt like he was getting the ball in it in the mid post area and was exclusively looking to score when that's not really how he played the first three games. But again, no Dyson Daniels, no organization. I can understand some of his flaws tonight.
What do you think the Hawks are going to do Saturday when Giannis is here again in Atlanta? And they had a couple of different plans of attack when they played the Bucks a week ago. Are they going to go straight to Dyson? Or are they going to try Onyeka first? Like, what are they going to try to do to guard Giannis in this matchup Saturday?
I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. I mean, Milwaukee plays big lineups like they did last time, and some of the reasons we talked about Gabe Vincent couldn't really play much in that game and such. So it'll be. I mean, uh, I have two thoughts. One is asking Dyson to guard Giannis for 4 quarters is a huge ask. That is a very physically demanding ask of him. So it probably won't be that. Um, but historically, like Mo's had some good games against him in the last couple of years or so. So hopefully, there's a little bit of workload sharing that can be done across Dyson and Mo, and maybe Onyeka has a better. If you maybe start with Onyeka and see if he has a better start than he did last time. He had a pretty rough start from the go last time, but maybe he'll do a little bit better this time and not have to ask Dyson to do that for 34 minutes or whatever.
What do you think about that one, Tyler?
We'll see. Honestly, ideally, I would like for Jalen just to get us the start, just to give Giannis a different look. But they kind of want to save Jalen for offensive purposes. I get that. So it's probably going to be. I would probably go back to Onyeka. I don't think it would work though, just because you're starting with CJ McCollum. So I don't know, but we'll see. But I think overall, like just beyond the start, I think Dyson's going to guard him a lot. If Kaminga plays, I think Kaminga's going to get a shot at him. Um, but I hope Mo plays against the Bucks. He tends to have good games against them, and the Bucks bigs aren't that physical outside of Jericho Sims. So it's like it's one of those things where I think Quinn needs to be cognizant of what the Bucks are doing offensively. They tend to play with Miles Turner and Bobby Portis. If they're going to do that, you might as well just get Mo Gay out there. He's the better defender, and not mess around with Jock Landale. I do hope that this was an experience for Quinn to understand like Landale's good for the role that he's in, but he's not a requirement to play every night. You can always get Mo Gay out there.
Has Mo Gay gotten better at offense, let's say the last month and a half, 2 months, compared to the part of the season that was before that? And if
His
so,
last two,
what do you
his
think he's
last
getting better at?
Yeah, I mean, just a little faster in his decision making, working from the corner. He'll not kind of, historically he'll kind of double pump that three and try to get his defender kind of back off of him and get room for that. If that doesn't happen, he's kind of attacking the defender more, attacking baseline if that's open to him and kind of try to collapse defense and make a pass. So, I mean, he's not up to 0.5, but he's kind of getting closer to that, I think. And I mean, in the prior game, he made two threes. It looked solid there. He made it above the break three and the corner three in that game, so that was encouraging to see. So I feel like he's watching, observing, seeing what everybody else is kind of doing when they get in that 0.5 kind of scenario. And like I said, it's not quite there, but I think he's making some progress.
Yeah, I think the shot is a little bit better than it has been. I think he looks more comfortable in his role. Like in November, December, they were just, two, three, four times a game where it felt like there had to be sort of a total offensive reset because he would get stuck with the ball in a spot where he didn't want to get stuck with it. And now that's just not happening as much. So I do think that he's made some steps on offense and he looks a bit more comfortable. Is there anything else that we need to take away? Like, I guess this question is this: like, how are you supposed to feel about this 8-game winning streak when the opponents have been what they've been?
I don't care. Uh,
Play the schedule in front of you.
they haven't done it in what, 5 years?
Yeah, they
So
have not done it in 5 years.
literally don't care. Like you play who you play on the schedule. The Hawks had a tough schedule for an extended stretch, and nobody gave them grace then. And I'm like, I'm not about to downplay a winning streak when this organization hasn't done much winning streaking in the last, since the Eastern Conference Finals run. Like this is the best winning streak they've had since then, and like they're beating teams by double digits. So like I'll take it. Like uh, it doesn't mean the Hawks are contenders or anything, but we've seen this team or teams like the Hawks the last couple of years not be able to beat bad teams with consistency. Like even during this stretch of games, until this stretch of games. And again, the Nets and Mavericks were trying to win this game. Like a lesser Hawks team loses this game and they lose against the Dallas Mavericks. Full stop. And they also lose against the Bucks. The Bucks was a 50-50 toss up until Dyson put the clamps on them. Yeah, I mean, they were getting blown out to start that game. So, like to me, like there have been Hawks teams that would have this schedule and would have lost 3 of the games. Would have went 5-3, and we would, it'd be DEFCON 5 about the Hawks not taking advantage of the schedule or whatever. Like that's it's not been like all like cake outside of the Wizards playing the Wizards twice. Every team they've played has tried to win. To me, like they're putting competitive lineups out there. They're trying to win the game, and the Hawks are just beating them because they're the better team. So I'm celebrating. If I'm a Hawks fan, you gotta celebrate the wins when you get them because again, 8-game winning streak hasn't happened since 2021. Come on, like we gotta be like we gotta take the small victories when we can get them.
How do you feel about it, Glenn?
I mean, like I said a minute ago, you play the schedule that's in front of you. They can't control who the opponents are or anything like that, and they had a pretty tough schedule the first part of the year, and they had a real lack of depth, and had a really imbalanced roster. So, I mean, they're just set up for success much more so than they were for the trade deadline. They have roster balance, and all of that, and but it's going to get tougher. The last say 10, 15 games, there's some pretty, there are going to be some pivotal matchups in that stretch of games that's going to determine whether they get 6, 7, 8, 9. Like winning those games, every single game is going to matter down the stretch against those divisional opponents that they still have left, and those sorts of things. So hopefully they're just building up some confidence and some stability and some consistent play that'll carry them into that. But they're going to face tougher teams, between now and the end of the season than they faced since the All-Star break for sure.
Yeah, I mean they've had some impressive wins. Like that Portland game, I thought they really just kind of fired away on all cylinders against a team that was, first of all trying to win. And yeah, the Portland didn't have Denny Avdia, but they were playing a number of strong defenders and they were trying to compete, and the Hawks just did their thing and ran away with it. So it's good. It feels like all the starters plus like Zachary Rizashe, like you've got your top 6 players all kind of hitting a decent stride at the same time, and it's just a matter now of trying to get Jonathan Kuminga or get some of these other bench pieces. I think they've found something with Gabe Vincent. Like I I think he complements Zach really well. I think he fits in the rotation for what they've needed for a long time. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. These games are going to get tougher. They're going to be so densely packed in the schedule now, and when they have off shooting nights like they had tonight, it's not going to be a gimme, but it's certainly an impressive feat in its own sort of weird way. Is there anything else we need to talk about? Anything that I forgot here?
I don't think so. I mean, they just keep, getting wins. That's what matters most. And
Oh, wait. I know what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what Quinn said tonight. I knew there was one
okay.
thing left. What it, let me just play the clip here.
What we've seen in this league is just it's become such a physical league, and it varies a little bit game to game, but there's such a premium on like physical strength. It's just there. I mean, you look at and fouling, like the best defensive teams foul the most. So, I'm not stating anything that you guys can't look up, and usually that means that you're physical, and being physical, you're going to foul at times. So JK is a physical player, and the physicality, as you mentioned, Bob, that's a physical play when you can literally seal your guy and keep him on your back, and breaking through a switching situation, driving to the basket and taking contact. That's why he's getting to the foul line. So we haven't had that. So trying to figure out ways within what we're doing to try to maybe put him in a situation where we can take advantage of that. That's kind of the process that we're going through.
Okay. What do you think
That's
of
where
that quote?
that's where I mean that's what that's how OKC wins all their games. They foul more than the rest will call. And I think other coaches around the league are kind of recognizing like that that's kind of the way to play. And so teams have to lean more into that.
Yeah, he
And I,
noticed the trend, right? There are OKC copycats blossoming all over the place. I'm sorry, Tyler. I've been cutting everybody off all night, stepping on toes here. I'm not hearing super well here in the arena. What were you
no,
gonna say?
you're fine. You're fine. I was just gonna say like Quinn's kind of just echoing, what we've been talking about a lot on this podcast this year, where it's like it's the NBA has never been this physical. It's been harder to hide skinny, small players, and like Kaminga gives them now again. Kaminga played terribly tonight, but
Yes.
Kaminga gives them something that they just don't have now. And I will say, like I don't think Kaminga would have played tonight uh, if the Hawks were in a better situation. But because they need to win every game, Quinn's probably made the decision because I don't think Kaminga's like again, I'm pretty sure Kaminga hasn't practiced. Like I think Quinn made the decision, like I gotta get Kaminga out here with these guys, get him comfortable because the schedule's about to, turn up here. Like we gotta play the Bucks. You like they have their struggles, but they almost beat the Heat tonight. And like they're, when Giannis is playing, he's an MVP caliber player. Like I need all hands on deck, and I need Kaminga to get reps, with these guys. But we've talked about it a lot. Kaminga gives them, like Quinn said, Kaminga gives them a new element of just physical strength that they don't have, that they've been missing. And I would like to see with that Quinn go with Mo Gay a little bit here. I know he, it worked tonight. I would like to see Mo get another opportunity next game to just be the primary backup center because again, for as good as Jack Landale has been, I don't think Landale's going to hold up in a playoff environment. Like I just don't think his shortcomings on the defensive end, I think, are going to be a real problem for this Hawks team in particular. And I think he's going to have to hope that Kaminga plus Mo Gay won't get this team like completely like shell shocked how it was before they had Kaminga, where it was just Mo Gay and Asa Newell, and those two were just getting lit up physically. Whereas instead Kaminga, because he's able to rebound outside of his position, combined with Shay's improved rebounding, uh, gives them something that they haven't had in a while on second units, particularly when Jalen's not in the game.
Awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to get in here on a late Thursday night and look forward to seeing what lies ahead. All right then. Good night, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Good night, Bob.